Hello everyone. So here is a little lecture about this results and discussion section. This is going to be the last major section of your paper. After the results and discussion comes the conclusion, which is basically the last section. So you don't actually need a conclusion paragraph for this section because you are going to conclude everything, summarize everything in the actual conclusion section. So this will be about 4 pages. It's actually structured a lot like the review of literature. In the review of literature, you have your academic quotes and you're talking about your academic research and you're kind of organizing your topic into like subtopics. Well, in the results and discussion section, you are quoting participants. This is where you quote participants, you give the statistics of your qualitative and non-demographic quantitative questions, and you organize this section. You have an introduction that has your thesis statement, and then you have 3 or 4 or maybe 5 subsections which are the basic like themes that have emerged from your data. So, uh, you can't really do this section without coding. You have to code first because this helps you analyze your data so that you know what the main points are that you can kind of flesh out and talk about for a little while. You don't have to cross code, but if you do, that might give you more information that you can kind of talk about. So you'll need to decide on your themes and the best representative participant quotes for each theme. So you could say themes, you could call this subtopic if you want. And that's mainly what's going to be the content of your outline if you decide to do an outline first. So again, you do need an introduction paragraph, and that should contain your thesis statement. And just like any thesis statement, it goes at the end of your introduction paragraph. And it should be about 4 pages long. So basically, this discusses and explains your study. It's completely about the results of your study, and it also showcases your participants. The themes or, subtopics should be based on the content of your survey responses. You just ask yourself what stood out, what stands out as the most interesting, and those are your themes. What can you talk about? What 3 or 4 kind of areas can you talk about for a while? Your themes, of course, should be included in your thesis statement because a thesis statement is basically just giving us a heads up about what you're going to talk about and flesh out. So I've given you an example here of kind of general observations that I might make and then how I convert that into a thesis statement. So my thesis statement is this. Although college students seem to have healthier diets than they perceived, so this is kind of like my claim in a sense because my research question was asking how healthy are college students. So my answer to my research question is that, well, they're healthier than they think they are, basically. And then I go into, the different areas of health that I'm going to flesh out. So um, for the diets, so let's say, okay, I could actually change this a little bit to make it more clear to distinguish the claim from the aspects. So, because a claim is generally going to be general, right? So, and I already put diets in here, so that's kind of my first point. So I could say, although college students seem to be healthier than they perceive, so that's basically like my claim, right? And then I get into my 3 parts. Kind of like you think about a 3-part thesis statement, right? So more attention could be put on how to cope with time and financial straits concerning diet, right? Okay, so there's my first kind of point. And then my second one is sleep hygiene revealed an even greater problem of time and other factors, while the activity level of college students greatly varied depending on priorities and personal values. So, so I have my first point, I have my second one, kind of, I guess, I'm just going to highlight them in different colors because that's going to help you see what it is, since I kind of have, how come I can't highlight that? Oh, there you go. Okay, and then activity level will highlight in green. All right, so those are my 3 points. Okay, so one thing you're going to need to know about this section, right, is how to format participant quotes. So this is what I would kind of do. I would say, according to Melinda, and of course, it's just a pseudonym, right? Melinda is not the real name of my participant. So I'm gonna, the first time I mention any kind of participant, I'm gonna immediately say this participant and all other participants have pseudonyms, right? So I asked gender, I asked age, and I asked religion. So I'm gonna put all those demographics with the participant to give that participant context. And apparently I finally turned on my grammar and spelling check, so that's going to help me greatly. Okay, let's see. So I said, according to Melinda, female, 18, spiritual but not religious, and then I give a quote. And you don't have to give a parenthetical afterwards because no one's gonna, the only reason that we give parentheticals in academic sources is because we can go back, everybody can go back to the academic source to read it. But no one's gonna has access to your survey, so there's no need for you to give a reference. Okay, so just be consistent, If you put gender for one participant, put gender for all of the participants. If I quote Melinda again, I'm quoting her once, right, in my paper. If I quote her in another theme or subtopic, I don't have to give her demographics again, because people will remember, or they can look back, to when I quoted Melinda the first time. So I put that right here. And just kind of a reminder, and this goes for academic quotes as well. If it's more than 3, we could even say 4 lines because, we'll take out the complete that way. If it's more than 3 or 4 lines, you need to format it as a block quote. And that's something you can look up. But basically, every line of a block quote, it's separated from the paragraph, and every line is indented, basically. So it kind of looks different, and it doesn't have quotation marks. So that is that. So here's the structure. If you want to create an outline first, I would recommend it because then you feel like you have done a lot of the work, because then you just have to fill in information. So it's going to have an introduction, right? An introduction with a thesis. Your introduction is 1 paragraph. So let's just say, I don't know why I call this a skeleton structure. Let's just be more conventional and call it an outline, right? So this is the results and discussion. That's what it's called. Okay, so then you have your theme 1, participant quotes, right, and statistics. And then you have theme 2, participant quotes and statistics. And theme 3, participant quotes and statistics. I mean, maybe you don't have statistics for every one of your themes, right? So for the review of literature, we have maybe we get 2 themes is okay, 3 themes is perfect, more conventional, ideal, I think. We just add one more theme for the results and discussion. You could even have 5 themes if you want, but there's no conclusion, but there is a works cited. Remember that every time you turn in a section as a rough draft, you need to include the works cited. And then you will remove all of the works cited when you do your final paper and put them all at the end. So here's a little rubric that you can kind of look at to kind of check yourself, is this section formatted correctly with headings and subheadings for themes? Do we have subheadings? No, we don't. Not for this one. I don't think so. So are there at least 3 themes? There should be. I mean, you should be able to have 3 areas of interest and knowledge that you're extracting from your study, unless your survey just didn't end up being that helpful. Basically, by the end of the results section, do we feel confident something meaningful was assessed? That the author was honest in reporting in their coding? You just didn't make it up, I guess. To what extent have you created a story, created interesting flow? It's easy to read. Did you provide representative participant quotes, giving them pseudonyms? I can't spell this word, apparently. It's the same thing when I'm trying to spell Freud. I have to look his name up all the time. It's like the E always goes before the U, I guess. And treating them with respect, fully interpreting and commenting on quotes, don't end, I should write this down, don't end a paragraph with a quote. Just don't ever do that. Did you use academic sources correctly? If you did, and integrate them smoothly within the themes. Did you find a balance between the number of quotes that you use and your own commentary? We don't want this to just be, a list of quotes and then you don't really say anything about them. So the rule of thumb is basically like if you are quoting something, if you're quoting a passage from a source or from your participant and it's 3 lines, then you need to have 6 lines of commentary. Like you should have more to say about the quote than the quote itself, if that makes sense. And then did you check grammar and punctuation? So basically that's what this section is. And remember, you always have an example. This example is quite long. I'm hoping to garner examples from this semester from the best papers to give to my future students, something that's shorter, right? But you can see the structure. You're just gonna have to scroll down a bit. So results and discussion, you have your introduction, hopefully there's a thesis statement in here, and then you have your first theme. So expectations toward men is the first theme. Look, one participant, Jack, here's the footnote, because here's the first participant commented on these expectations, and then there's the quote. And then, so there's all the fleshing out of this section, and then there's expectations toward women. One girl, Maddie, said, so all participant quotes. There's a statistic. So you can read through this and kind of see what she did. Then there's another theme, discrimination, and then participant quotes. This is just a paragraph. So they don't need to, all the subsections don't need to be the same. Then there's feminism and activism. And then there's religion. All right. And that's probably it. Is that it? Nope. Transgender and non-binary experiences. So yours doesn't have to be this long. You don't have to have another. Here's another one, taking action. You don't have to have as many themes, right? This example is 14 pages long. So you really, it needs 4 pages is a good number of pages for, so just try to, I would say no more than 5 themes, but I mean 3 or 4 is really perfect, I think. so that you can, flesh out your themes, basically. So that's basically it. So you only need a works cited if you have academic sources or non-academic sources that you put in here. You don't need to cite your survey. So I would just say, start out with an outline, and let's see, I don't know why I closed it. Yeah, start with an outline, and then, start fleshing it out. Start adding what you need to do. Write your introduction. There's no conclusion. Decide what participant quotes you need for each theme. Decide on your themes. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.